Hello, my name is Akshay. Today I am going to explain Morse code of task 2.1p from Unit 210, which is embedded system. So let's begin. So first of all, begin with Morse code. It was invented by Alfred Vail. So in older times, people used to send messages in the form of letters, and also it was very difficult to send and receive messages as it take a lot of time. So to overcome the condition, Alfred Vail made a Morse code which consists of dot and dashes, and these dots and dashes makes alphabets. As we can see that all the alphabets are assigned by different patterns which are of dots and dashes. So let's take the example of A. In Morse code, we can see that A consists of dot and dashes. A dot consists of a single unit and dash consists of 3 units. And according to this, all the alphabets contain dots and dashes according to their respective patterns. So now let's begin with the code. In the first line of code, I had made a variable blink underscore dot with data type int, and I had given a 200 millisecond delay. In next line, I had made blink underscore dash variable with 600 millisecond delay. Now in next line, I had declared a variable LED which is on pin number 13 because pin 13 is used as inbuilt LED in Arduino. Next, in pin number 2, I had declared a variable button pin because to use interrupt, we can only use 2 and 3 pin number of Arduino. In next line, I had declared a variable name with data type string, and initially I had set its value to empty because in next part of the code, I will take input from user to make the code more usable. In next part, I had declared a variable is blinking with data type bool, and I had set its value initially to false. Now in next line, I had declared a variable with int data type, and initially I had set its value to 0. So I had used volatile here as it is a keyword known as variable qualifier, which is used before a data type of variable, and its main function is to stop the compiler to interrupt that part of the code in which it is used. Now next is setup procedure. It is used to set up the code. Initially it runs the code once. So in void setup, firstly I had used pin mode LED for output. Then I had used button pin for input pull up. Input pull up is used to enable internal pull up resistor to high. So when the button is not pressed, it will automatically set internal resistor to high. Now in next line I had used attached interrupt. It is used to attach interrupt to a specific input pin, which is 2 and 3 in pin number 2 and 3 in Arduino devices. Now next I had used digital pin to interrupt. It is used to convert the pin from interruption, as I had used it for pin number 2 for button pin, and it will perform interruption for this pin. So this line of code is used for setting up an interrupt for button pin, which is 2. And when the button is pressed, the voltage of pin goes to high to low, which is falling, and triggers interrupt. And when the interrupt is triggered, it will call the start function. So next is serial begin, which is used to initialize the communication between Arduino and device. And in next line, I had used serial printing for printing the line to get input from user on the serial monitor. So next is the start function, which gets triggered when the button connected to button pin is pressed. I had set it a variable is blinking is equal to true, which indicates that the LED start blinking, and I had put C index to 0 so that the blinking of name starts from beginning. Next, I had used procedure loop, which is used to run the code again and again with respect to the condition. So first of all, in the loop I had used if statement. So when the if is blinking is true in if loop, then it prints the stored name to the serial monitor. Then it calls the name underscore blink function to blink the name in the Morse code using LED. After blinking, it resets is blinking to false, which means that LED will stop blinking. So in next if loop, I had used serial.available, which checks if the device is available within the range. So in the if loop, I had used name which was declared previously, and I had used serial.readString until /n, which reads the serial port into the string available as it reads until it receives the terminating character from the string, as it will read from last element of the string. Now next I had used trim, which is used to cut extra spaces from the code. And next I had used serial.println, to print name on the serial monitor. In the next line, I had made name_blink function in which I had used for loop. So if the condition in for loop satisfied, then for_string function will be called, and this function is used to translate the character into Morse code and will blink the LED accordingly. After this, I had gave a 600 millisecond delay between the characters. After this function, I had made another function which is for_dot. So first of all, when for_dot function is called, it turns the LED to high state in which LED starts blinking, and after that I had put a delay of blink_dot which is of 200 millisecond as I initialize it in the code. After that, I had used LED to low, in which after high state LED will stop blinking. So next I had made for_dash function which is same as for_dot. So in this also I had used for LED to high, as when the for dash function is called, LED start blinking. Then I had delay of 600 milliseconds which I had initialized in the code. Then I had set LED to low to stop the LED to blink. So this is the last part of code, and I had made a procedure for_string. So in its parameter, I had passed a variable type with data type char, which represents a single character. So in for_string procedure, first of all, I had used an if statement for all the alphabets. For example, I had used it for A for capital. So when in serial monitor A is typed, then first of all for_dot procedure will be called. Then there will be a delay of 200 milliseconds, and then for_dash procedure will be called. This is set for all alphabets that it will be called according to the Morse code of all alphabets. As A contains of dot and dash, so both the function for_dot and for_dash are called with 200 millisecond delay. And also for rest of the alphabets, same function will be called according to their Morse code. So this was the entire code which I had made for task 2.1. So now let's see how my code and my setup works. In my setup, I had used Arduino Nano along with one push button and two jumper wires. I had connected ground of Arduino Nano to one pin of push button, and I had connected second number pin of Arduino Nano to one side of push button. As we can see here, I had used number 2 pin in my code. So now let's see how our code works. We can see that our code is uploaded. Yes, now it is uploaded. Now I open my serial monitor. Here my code is uploaded to Arduino Nano. Now first of all, for initial, we will type name Akshay. After typing, the Nano doesn't work because I have to press the button to make it initialize. So as we can see that after pressing button, the Morse code will start working and LED start blinking. So now if I add E 5 times, as we know that Morse code of E is dot 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 for 5E. So let's see what happens. So when I press the button, it will go to 200 milliseconds, which I had set for dot. Let's test once again. So this was the working of my code of Task 2.1p embedded system. Thank you very much.